joining me from the Flying Octopus podcast, Evan Sabourin. Welcome into the show.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
So where are you located? And talk a little bit about the Flying Octopus podcast.
Well, this might shock you, but I'm located out in Los Angeles.
There we go.
I work out in sports media out here. The Flying Octopus podcast is something I always wanted to start. I was born and raised in Detroit.
Oh, there we go.
I've been out here for the last 25 years working in sports media. And, yeah, I found a couple of writers that I really liked, and Tony Wolak and Devin Little from the Hockey Writers. And we got together and we said, hey, man, let's do this. You know, something we always wanted to do. And, yeah, we love talking Red Wings hockey. We love giving news updates and sharing opinions, and it's just kind of a passion project for all three of us. So people turned into a little more.
Go ahead.
No, just turned into a little more than we thought it would. So it's been a pretty fun ride.
Well, where can people find you on social media then?
Okay, well, you can follow us on Twitter at Flying Octopod. We're also on YouTube at The Flying Octopod. And, yeah, we have shorts and everything all around. We do a lot of collaboration with Hockeytown West podcast. They're in Grand Rapids with Brandon Cook, Nick Harrington, and Travis Foch. So, yeah, we're all around. We're all around the social media.
Well, that's a lot. I tell kids, I'm a professor at Davenport University in sport management, and these kids are always trying to figure out a way, how do I get started in the business? And I said, well, you just got to go and volunteer and stick your nose in a lot of places and extend your hand to as many people as you can, telling them what your goals are. I had a goal of starting a radio show back in the year 2000. I found the file the other day, and no takers for a lot of years. No, I put out proposals, traditional radio. Nobody was looking for content that way. Nobody was looking for programming. And then I had a drink at a bar with some lifelong friends. And we know somebody who owns a small radio station that's looking for programming. And then here we are going into our 10th year. No, our ninth year. Our ninth year. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we've been going for 9 years, and it's just been so just start it, right? A podcast, just get going, start it, and then build on it for these young. Don't keep thinking about it, because now you don't need to get on traditional media. You can go right to the podcast world and or YouTube and get on there and just get going. So congratulations on that. So I started the show with, who in the heck had the chance to see the retirement of number 91 Sergei Fedorov? And you did, right?
Yeah, it was an amazing experience, and I think the Red Wings organization handled it very, very well. Sergei was probably the player that made me fall in love with hockey as a young fan growing up in Plymouth, Michigan, and always said to myself, if and when the Red Wings do, because for a long time there was speculation that didn't know if it was going to happen, because Sergei had there were some issues with management towards the end of his Red Wings career, and they weren't really sure if his jersey was going to go to the rafters. And, eventually it came around this year. So, yeah, I had to come home for it. Amazing experience all around. The city of Detroit, they really, really embraced it. I think the one thing we talked about on my show, and I think the best part about the whole situation there for me, was seeing that generation of fans that grew up in the 90s, and then now seeing them there with their children sharing that experience of what it was like being a Red Wings fans during their heyday of those great runs. And Sergei was such a magical player, probably one of the greatest in Red Wings history. And so to see his number get retired was pretty fascinating. He was, Sergei wasn't the most outgoing or vocal player back in his days, but you couldn't wipe the smile off his face all weekend seeing him there, and especially at the LCA. He was ecstatic, and just to see that banner finally go up, it kind of felt like a little bit of closure for Red Wings fans to finally have that great Red Wing, because there's no denying that he's not one of the all-time Detroit greats. So it was pretty fantastic atmosphere, and the way the Red Wings organization handled it by just the media team, bringing Sergei in a Corvette on the ice, which was famous because that was the story about Sergei. That was the first thing that basically he got when he came to North America, was a Corvette. So seeing him driving in that, and they had a little GoPro on his rearview mirror there, so you can see a close up. And like I said, that smile was golden. And they brought Karen Newman out to sing the national anthem. For those of you who don't remember Karen Newman, she was sang the national anthem for the Red Wings for gosh knows how long, during the whole '90s period, I would say. And just a lot of nostalgia and just a great time overall.
So talk to us a little bit. I don't know if you were able to capture his speech, but I saw bits and pieces of it, more in writing than on audio. But he talked about leaving Detroit was a huge mistake. Well, how did that come off? And give us a little more depth to that one.
Yeah, it was interesting. Before the ceremony came, the Red Wings social media team put out a little feature of him writing that letter. I think the one that you're talking about, with him voiceovering it, and basically saying that he regretted ever leaving. And I think that was something that, again, it was almost part of the closure part, but it was something great that the Red Wings fans really wanted to hear, because it was kind of a messy ending when he left the organization. He was offered more money by the Detroit Red Wings, but still went out to Anaheim out west. He kind of bounced around towards the end of his career. Obviously he spent 13 seasons in Detroit, which was the majority of his career. And I think it was hard for a lot of fans to see him, go off into other teams and end his career with other teams. I mean, I'll compare it to, let's say, Matthew Stafford. Seeing Matthew Stafford move on to other teams, because Sergei and guys like Matthew Stafford are beloved figures in the Detroit sports community. And so he said that in the social media thing, and then he did say it in front of the LCA fans. And, again, it was something special, and it kind of felt like, at the same time they're welcoming Sergei back to the organization. And I think that's what a lot of people at some point want, because we know that the Detroit Red Wings are a family-oriented organization. They like to keep their players in within the coaching, within management. You have Draper, Yzerman, all these guys. And I think one day it kind of felt like maybe there's hope one day that Sergei can come back and work for the organization in some capacity, even if it's like a Nicholas Lidstrom kind of scouting role or whatever it is. But I think it just felt good to have Sergei back, to have number 91 back. And it was a magical moment. I'd have to say that.
I think a lot of these legendary pro athletes. I got a chance to work with Shaquille O'Neal when he was with the Orlando Magic, and he talks now in post-retirement about looking backwards, and one of the biggest mistakes he ever made was leaving the Orlando Magic, because these guys, there's only a few athletes who get a chance to spend their entire career with one team and go to become famous with one team. And it's hard to earn that. You know what I mean? I mean, free agency's in there. If you're a superstar, you got a chance to evaluate a lot of different money offers. Okay. But the ones who are able to stay for 20 years with one team, like Al Kaline with the Detroit Tigers, or Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker with the Detroit Tigers, or Isaiah Thomas with the Pistons, Steve Yzerman with the Red Wings. The list. There's only there's only a handful of those who are able to do that. The money would have worked out in the long haul better for Shaq, and he didn't realize it at the time. He had things in his eyes about going to L.A., where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played and Wilt Chamberlain played, and where movies are made, and it would have worked for him in Orlando. It would have worked big on the money side, and he would have taken the Magic to heights as a franchise that they would never see again. And so it's another thing that keeps repeating itself. So the agents get in the way, and the posses with they have their inner circle that get in the way and start filling their ears. And he wants to, everybody wants to go to LA. You know what I mean? But if you're based in Detroit, you can go to LA in the off season, and Shaq could go live in LA in the off season, or they have multiple homes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So that's sort of sad, because it was sort of and I'm sorry, and the Detroit fans embraced it. And I guess I live in a world of what could have been and what should have been, and that irks me a little bit. Did you feel some of that too at the stadium, or was it all everybody apologetic?
I think it was. I think it was all for love about Sergei. I mean, I think the majority of Red Wings fans understand. I mean, you know, when you have athletes like this, and here's another one too that bothers Detroit fans is Justin Verlander leaving the Detroit Tigers and going on to Houston. You're right. It's very rare that these players have their entire career played out in front of them or played out in one team. But Sergei was he was special. He was also, he was younger. And they've had time to reflect back now and look at it because they're young kids. And when Sergei came to this country, he had nothing. And, to become an instant millionaire and a huge celebrity and a star. And, you don't know where your mindset is when you're in your 20s about that. So as someone who's a little bit older, I kind of think back, how would I have done things differently growing up? And I'm sure that's the same for athletes as well. They've had time to reflect back on their career, what worked, what didn't, how are they perceived in their post-career. And I think that's what happened with Sergei. I think, he looked back and realized that, that was not the way he wanted to finish out maybe his career with teams like Columbus and Anaheim. And, I don't think Red Wings fans ever were mad at Sergei Fedorov. I think they were just frustrated with how it went down and the fact that he didn't finish his career with the Detroit Red Wings. And I'm telling you, the love was there. If you saw the team store there, the team store was just covered in Fedorov gear. And it basically, when they opened it, right when they opened the doors for the game that night against Carolina, it looked like when you see those viral videos of Black Friday where they open up the stores and everyone just is, hell bent on pushing everyone over and getting to that. I mean, the store sold out of everything. I'll tell you that.
Well, that's sad. That the other disappointing thing that had nothing to do with hockey is that he didn't marry Anna Kournikova and didn't bring her back in the Corvette on the ice to Detroit. That would have been the ultimate. We would have absolved him of all wrongdoing if he would have done that. But that's a guy thing that Steve's talking about here. But you won't disagree, though, will you?
I will tell you this: after they saw Karen Newman come out and sing the national anthem, that was what they thought was next. You could hear the whispers around in my section. Like, it would be so cool if he brought Anna Kournikova too, because he had everybody else there.
Yeah,
but no, I don't think she could make it. So,
well, I'll look at the poster that I have in my home in my man cave, and so I'll have to live with that. Evan, I better let you go before I get in trouble here. Evan Sabourin, check out Flying Octopus Podcast. Flying Octopus Podcast. Thanks for joining us this evening on Sports and Tell.
Thank you. I appreciate it for having me on.